Davis, said, quote, "Time for me to adjust." Back to you, Twan. Are the Lakers asking for too much out of LeBron with AD sidelined now?
They could be. This is the time that the Lakers coaching staff has to make a decision, and the organization. You know you're not going to have AD back for a while, probably 4 to 6 weeks with this injury. You got to be really careful with it. And you got to decide whether or not what's more important. Right now you're holding your own. You're the second seed in the Western Conference. How important is it? Can you do it at the 4th spot? Can you do it at the 5th spot? I would not wear LeBron James out. I know LeBron thinks he's going to try to do everything in his power to keep this winning up. But if you happen to fall a little bit and LeBron's healthy, you still have a legitimate chance to win the NBA title. But if you wear him out right now during this regular season, trying to keep this magical record up, then you're going to have problems. So LeBron James, they're going to have to sit down with LeBron and figure this out. You don't want to get him on a minute restriction, but you're going to have a fresh LeBron because AD is going to take a while to get back. Brandon, you alluded to this earlier in the show. AD's having a not-so-great year. He has going to have to get back in basketball shape. So they got to make a decision on what they want to do.
He's having a terrible year, and I said that correctly, terrible. Look, this is exactly what LeBron has to do. Like, you know, there's no other option. And the biggest thing here, and I'll be quick, Nick, they're finally realizing that they're not deep. Like, we thought they were deep. AD goes down, and then Schroeder goes down, and now you have nobody. So this team really isn't good without AD. This is devastating for the Lakers, Nick.
All right, so I think that's overstating it. And listen, you're without your second and third best scorers, and you end up losing a game that you lose on a last-second shot. It happens, or a last-second miss by Caruso. On LeBron's last 5 games, he's shooting 14% from 3. And this is how LeBron's whole career goes. He'll have a month where he shoots 40%, and this month he's shooting 25%. Right now his three's not falling, so that's why all of a sudden he looks semi-inefficient the last few games. But you don't have to worry about wearing LeBron out, but I want to run something by. Can we put everyone on the screen real quick? Because I think I have a really good idea here. Because the Lakers want to keep playing LeBron. They don't want him to miss time. LeBron has said he doesn't think the All-Star game should be played. LeBron is an All-Star captain. Kevin Durant is an All-Star captain. He's out with a hamstring injury. I think LeBron and Kevin Durant should not only pick the teams, I think they should coach the teams. I think, like, seriously coach the teams. They don't play in the games.
You just want to change the format?
Gets the week off. Just rather than him opt out, KD can get more time to rest his hamstring. LeBron can get some actual rest. And Antoine, how competitive? Look, I feel like the game would be more competitive with LeBron and AD coaching and doing adjustments and sets than if they were to actually play. So that's my recommendation.
This is where you make your money, TV deals.
But they got to coach. I think people would want to see him coach.
You got to play.
LeBron's already coaching.
Hey, listen, it'll be great.
Right,
that'll be a great idea, but I don't think they want that pressure of having to put the last 6 minutes who you have in the game. If I was LeBron and KD, I wouldn't want that pressure on who's going to be in the game.
Oh, who's
now you see how
the politics.
They're going to make a Ty Lue move. Don't do what Ty Lue did.
All right, let's go back to last night. The Brooklyn Nets, are they the NBA's hottest team right now? We will discuss. But first, a note to everyone lucky enough to be invited onto Brandon's I Am Athlete podcast. You will work. Take a listen. Morning. Help us run the fast break here. Here we go. Paul George had a big fourth quarter for the Clippers last night, but Ty Lue pulled him for the last 3 minutes, and the Nets went on to win. Ty Lue blaming it on a minutes restriction as PG makes his way back from a toe injury. But come on, Antoine, let him finish it out. Are you surprised he did that last night?
Yeah, I'm surprised. And the reason why I'm surprised, you know, as a player, it's a few games on the schedule that you circle that you want to be a part of. And this is one of those games. I mean, Paul George is probably looking forward to playing against the Brooklyn Nets, and then he gets it going in the fourth quarter and brings them back. And then you get snatched for 2 minutes and 50 seconds. That's last 3 minutes of the game. That's tough. My thing is this, and I don't know this, if T. Lue had a discussion with Paul George, when you listen to the after the game presser, it didn't seem like they both was on the same page. And that's disturbing. We all know Paul George is passed, and obviously the situation with Doc Rivers about some of the miscommunication between the two guys. You don't want to start that. Your superstar guys you're paying $40 million to, want to play in certain games. And I don't think 3 minutes would have really hurt him. So I can't take T-Lue's side on this. You got to go with the player in this situation in a highly competitive game, and especially if I got it going on. I don't think 3 minutes is going to hurt me either way. So T-Lue made a bad decision on this. And it's regular season. It's early. It may not linger on, but certain players circle certain games, and they want to show up in those games.
Come on, Ty Lue. Are you kidding me? What's going on in pro sports? All this data, all this analytics, it's just getting out of control. Now, I do embrace it. I do believe it's needed. But come on. Load management is cool. I'm actually a fan of it. But like you said, Walt, these are the games that you circle. And when you talk about load management, it's either you're playing or you're not. When you get into crunch time as a player, if a coach do this, just walk up to the scorer's table and check yourself in. Nick, I did this in high school. Coach Cone, I know you're watching. I promise you, I did it. I walked to the scorer's table. I said, I'm going in. I'm going in right now. It's probably like the third quarter. We're down by like 20. And I just checked myself in. Nick, I don't know how you feel about this, but this was terrible by Ty Lue.
And that right there was the start of Brandon Marshall being part of the problem, not part of the solution. He would solve that 10 years later. Listen, this is not on Ty Lue. Ty Lue was as mad as Paul George was. This is on the Clippers medical staff, and I actually think this is a huge story. And we're going to talk more about this later. I should have mentioned this before the show. Because, guys, this isn't about modern science. This is about pseudoscience. And it's a pseudoscience that has not improved in 35 years. How do I know? Let's go back to the summer when we were watching at the beginning of quarantine, almost a full year ago, The Last Dance. Remember episode 1 of The Last Dance? What happened? Michael Jordan, fresh off a broken foot, wants to go back into a game with a minute left. But the Bulls trainers were like, nope, he's played his allotted 18 minutes. 1 minute more, foot'll fall off. Can't do it. 35 years later, we're watching the Clippers. It's like, oh, 33 minutes, that's it on the dot. 34 minutes, he'll never be the same. It's nonsense. I am all for
but a player knows his body better than anybody else.
Right. I agree. Brandon, I agree. And Paul George wanted to play, and Ty Lue wanted to play him. And they weren't allowed because they said we're listening to the doctors. But the doctors are guessing on this stuff.
More than the doctors,
it's terrible. It's okay. That's Brandon wants him to go rogue, but that's separate. It's nonsense. It's nonsense.
You can't always leave it up to the player. All right, on to New Orleans now. Pelicans were down 24, came all the way back to beat the Celtics in overtime. Zion just bullied his way. I mean, if you watch this game, he bullied his way to 28-10. And Brandon, was last night more about Zion's dominance or whatever's going on with the Boston Celtics right now?
All Zion. I mean, look, this kid he went to high school at Spartanburg Day School. Okay, that's in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He didn't play anybody, Nick. He didn't play anybody, Jenna. And then he went on to Duke, where he was one and done. What did we see there? They let him have the ball in his hand. You turn on all his highlights, go to YouTube, and all you're going to see is Zion with the ball in his hands and making things happen and dunking all over people, swatting their shots. We haven't seen that yet with the Pelicans. They have finally released this guy. They finally let this guy go loose. So when you think about who he is, this is Tyreek Hill in a Shaquille O'Neal type body. That's who he is. No. We don't know how good this kid's going to be. But pay attention, the Zion era has started now.
Okay, so a few things. One is Chris Broussard was supposed to be here for one segment today, but because he has been so disrespectful to Zion's spot on the pyramid, he begged out of it. So we get more Antoine Walker, so that's good for us.
Happened, America.
No, that is true, America. Listen, there's two stories. Zion's last 7 games, he's averaging 30 points on an absurd 67% shooting. His free throw shooting is now passable. He doesn't shoot the three. He does it all at the rim, and no one can stop him. He came into the league as a top 25 player, and he's only rising on that. That's one side of the ledger. The other side of the ledger is this, Antoine Walker. Your Celtics stink. They have a bad roster. Kemba Walker is a shell of his former self. They really miss Gordon Hayward, evidently. Jeff Teague has been a non-factor. Jaylen Brown's been awesome. Jason Tatum has been really good. COVID knocked him out a bit. But they've got two guys you can rely on, and the rest of the team stinks. They blew a 24-point lead last night, Antoine, and the Celtics should be greatly concerned.
Well, I'm going to take a different approach than you guys took. It wasn't about Zion last night, Nick. It was about the Celtics. And it kind of sums up the Celtics season in a nutshell right now at 15-15. Like you said, Nick, they do have two All-Stars. I think Jaylen Brown and Tatum both make the All-Star team. Those two guys should be deserving there. Kemba Walker is really hurt. He hasn't came out and said it. I know he's fighting through it, but that knee has never been the same. His numbers reflect that. He's not playing at the same level that we used to see Kemba Walker play at. Took a bad shot last night when he was not having a great night. He was only 1 for 12 from the three-point line. And then that hurt. I know you don't want to talk about it, and a lot of people haven't talked about it, but they're missing their heart and soul, and that's Marcus Smart. So it's hard for me to make a judgment on it. I still believe they're a top 4 team in the East. When they get Marcus Smart back, they'll be a lot more competitive. A little bit to blame on Danny Ainge and not strengthening the roster. Their bench is not very good. They have a very good starting lineup. So this is last night just kind of showed everything of what's wrong with the Celtics in that 24-point debacle.